Hey, so this is not going to be a quick video at all. Just jumping in, just acknowledging I've been gone a long time. I've been gone quite a bit, for quite a bit. Not all disappearances are bad, even though I was dealing with a lot of stuff, things that happen, life happens. Everything from something bad happening personally that I'll save that stuff for the Patreon channel. Things happen, and I had to navigate some things, some life circumstances, even down to a former friend losing their mind. And I don't say that to belittle mental illness, but, that's just one of the many things I had to deal with. I decided to help someone, um, only to discover that the person quite literally lost their mind. They'd become a liar, pathological liar, evil, manipulative, and it was a shock to my system. Someone that I've known either was always a psychotic, like psychopath, or someone I had to discover is devolving into mental illness and is just a liar and causing very serious problems. Very, very serious problems. And I'll save that for another day. Down to good things. I signed a music contract for sync licensing, and that's been monopolizing my time. And so not all disappearances are bad. There was some bad things, all resolved, all is well now. I'm handling some new things and preparing to come back to all my channels. Not heavy, I'm still not a YouTuber, but I will be posting on all these channels and all these platforms a little bit more frequently, a couple times a month maybe. And that said, I'm inviting people, and I've never asked for anything for, but it's gotta be incentivized to some degree because they've demolished our channels, shadow banned us. So I'm gonna ask people to hit up the Patreon if you so choose. You can even do $1 a month to incentivize some of the work I plan to do and come back to posting. It's a lot of time, and they used to, we used to make a good amount of money just posting, without any subscriber support, but they made damn sure to eliminate that. And the reason why they did that is because there were certain people who were competing with mainstream media narratives. And when they were lying, that's why they wanted to ban TikTok too, because like they try to control their lies and in the flow of information, and they can't do it because people are going to start listening to their nonsense. They're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. What does True Story News have to say about it? What does this guy have to say about it? And realize that the information that a lot of independent news channels were giving were factual, and it just dismantled the lies and the nonsense that they were trying to, you know, brainwash the masses with. So they struck a lot of our channels down. They hit me with a lot of things and copyright strikes, and it just became so draining to post one video. And you'd spend a week on a video, post it, only to find out that they took it down. So I took my time coming back just to set things up. And things are a little different now because of the present administration. Not praising the present administration, just the difference between this one and the last have changed how YouTube treats certain videos now. We're, less restricted now. Some people see that good, some people see that bad. I think that's, it's good and bad, but mostly good for me. So I'm coming back, and we'll be talking about some topics. I'm going to try to make the channel, the video shorter because that's what works now, shorter. But that said, just letting you guys know that I'm coming back. Thanks for people who stopped in while I was gone. Dante, Richard, Gavin, Barbara, Daniel, people who stopped in on one of the channels just to say, hey, I hope you're alive and well. Haven't seen or heard from you. That was not missed on me. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you for checking in on me. And all is well. All is beautiful. Life is good. So let's jump into some of the topics. One of the huge things that are going on right now, and I know a lot of people have been dying to, well, not a lot of people, my people who follow me, wants to know my opinion on a lot of these things that I've missed. I have not missed. I just haven't commented publicly on. And some people are hitting me up privately, dying to know my opinion, even friends and families of mine, because I'm not posting on social media. They want to know what I'm thinking about all these things that have been going on, and from this administration, and there's a lot to be said about so many things. Firstly, people need to abandon the party affiliations. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems that we have right now. And although I understand why people voted for Trump, I think that, and a lot of people on the left don't want to face the reality that that was the smarter, better choice, given what they had. And the left was lost in their echo chamber, in their bubble, and accused everyone who voted for Trump to be racist or misogynistic. They didn't want to vote for a woman or a black. It's another conversation. A black woman, which was not the truth at all. The left has been losing, and they just haven't had just weren't on pulse. They were behind and wrong on all the issues. And I think the shift from left to right began during the pandemic, where people started to realize we don't agree with a lot of the left, like big government, do what the government says left. The pronoun left, the tampon in men's bathrooms left. Like the left has lost its mind. And so people started to leave the left and started to not jump ship and go right, although a lot of people did. A lot of people just started to abandon the left, and things that should have been shoe-in, like a shoe-in to vote for anybody but Trump. No, the left was so bad and so off and so lost and so wrong on all the topics that we have a Trump. You know, and the left to this day are not honest about the real reasons why we're in this position. Um, Now, to comment on that, I was never a pro-Trump person. I do have a lot of people in my life who are pro-Trump, and I defend their decision to vote for Trump because I still think that it was, given the choices that we had, no emotion. I respect the point of view that he was the better bad option. Um, Kamala didn't offer much. Kamala was not liked. Kamala was a loser that they kept trying to slip in through the back door and repackage. And she lost, she lost, she lost. America did not want her. And America told the Democratic Party several times when she lost the primaries, when she lost, she lost, she lost. She had a stellar career as a politician, but she was not national stage ready. Nobody wanted her. So she had a stellar career. But when you're on the national stage, the things you did locally start to come up. And she was not popular. And, the Democratic Party did not want to accept that. They were shoving her down our throat when people did not like her. And she was an opportunist. She was a liar. So is Trump. But, when you're trying to present yourself as the alternative to something that you're trying to tell everybody's bad, you can't be just as pathological in a different way. She was more polished and refined and articulate for sure. But we did not trust her, and for good reason. And, what the party was pushing, abortion, the party was listening to like liberal feminists. Like people had financial concerns. We were fighting social issues and the pronouns that we weren't with the left, but they just kept listening to mostly liberal female feminist talking points. Abortion rights, abortion rights. I'm trying to go to work. I'm trying to, you know, gas prices. I'm trying, like, there's so many different things that, they could have attacked and talked about or promised, which they didn't. But anyway, in the videos to come, I'll be talking about the left-right paradigm, which is one of the biggest problems that we have right now. We don't know what the truth is. People don't, because everyone's locked in their own echo chambers and they don't know what the truth is. We have two different medias. We have a blue media and a red media, and no one is clear on what the truth is, and there's no one policing that, and it has gotten out of control. In the 80s, it wasn't this bad. Media was always bad and control, but we're living in the times in which media has gotten so bad that we're worse than China, worse than Russia, worse than every country that we would say has state-run media. We're worse than that. We've sunken to new lows, and we don't even agree on what the truth is. And everyone who's loud and wrong has an audience. Charlie Kirk, for example, he's wrong about it. Like everything that comes out of his mouth is stupid and wrong, but he's right about certain things, and he has an audience. Like when he goes against the left on the left agendas and the pronouns, he's right. So all these babbling clowns like Charlie Kirk and they appear to be strong. They go on college campuses and beat up on young minds that are not prepared for debating, manipulative argument professional debaters of little children like Charlie Kirk. You know, people are not clear on what the truth is, and people don't know how to understand the playing field that we're living in right now. Everybody who's popular is right about a lot of things and wrong about a lot of things. And that is the left-right paradigm. You have people living their lives not understanding that the truth is on both sides. And lies and agendas are on both sides almost equally. And we're living in the days and times in which we need to have discernment. You're not going to get the truth from popular people anymore. You're not going to get the clean, pure truth from popular people, because most popular people, a lot of them are all compromised. You know, even Cat Williams, people were excited, like would miss me with that. He's not a truth teller. He's part of it, you know. And he speaks a lot of truth. Yeah. Candace Owens does too. They all do. But anyone who's popular and allowed on a popular platform, they're part of it. And there's things that they do. Cat Williams threw Bill Cosby under the bus, Michael Jackson under the bus, knowing the same logic that he understands other things, he doesn't apply to certain things. And he's too smart to be saying things so stupid. Like when I heard him say things about Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby that like an intelligent man wouldn't say, that knows anything about facts, evidence, or what was presented. He's too smart to say extremely stupid things that he said on multiple occasions, and he's part of it. So you got to understand that we're in the age of discernment. You need to use discernment. Everyone is locked. Not everyone, but a lot of people are locked in their own echo chambers. And I have friends who are conservative, and they're not listening to the people who are leftist Democrats and vice versa. And I see what they post and I see what they post, and the two sides don't come together. No one is moving the needle, because everyone is locked in their own echo chamber, and no one is agreeing on what is right, what is wrong, what is true. And these are some of the things I'm going to be discussing upon my return. And it's long overdue, and it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, because that's the surgery of truth. How do I know the truth, and what is the truth? Well, I'll talk about that too. But for now, let's briefly talk about, okay, another example of how the left-right paradigm has people trapped. Candace Owens has viral clips debating Jason. I forget his last name. Jason was very smart, very good debater, but got beaten up by Candace Owens because he's pushing a liberal agenda and the trans agenda. And he has to do it because it's his side, it's his base. But you're never going to be right. You're never going to be right. And the right has a stronghold because the Democratic left are holding to their agendas, and they're going to lose socially every time, because the trans agenda, the arguments are idiotic. The pronouns, the insistence, I'm not going to get into all of that. They're idiotic, devoid of fact, logic, reason. science, and they're never going to win. Never going to win. And when you're from a base, these are your talking points, and you're going to stay in that echo chamber, and the right is going to keep beating these people up. And when it comes to racial issues, the left gets to beat up on the right, but not so clear, because when people just identify with a lot of the politics on the right, it's all lost. And that's exactly what the psychotic psychopaths in power want. They want this dichotomy. They want this confusion. They want this constant canceling out of each other so that nothing changes. Nobody knows what is true. People know what their truth is and what their base says, but the truth is not championed by anyone, and it is not clear by anyone. So yeah, I'll be discussing that and more. Let's talk about Diddy, because a lot of people are not ready for that truth. What's going on there? Um, I'm not here to say Diddy is a good person at all. He's very well. I'm not. I'm going to refrain from speaking negatively about someone I've never met. Well, someone I don't know. Um, but based on what I know, confirmed to be true, he's a very toxic person. He has, very disgusting things that have been alleged that he did. But as of now, there's not much criminally against him. But it's going to be fabricated, and they're going to drag him in. And even me saying that, I know I'm losing people, because most people are not dialed into the truth. Most people are asleep, and they sit there and they watch the puppet shows on TV, and they don't know what's going on. Diddy's a fall guy. He's a distraction. They're using him for distraction, and they're hiding other more nefarious perpetrators and predators. And there's a racial aspect to this, and it goes deep. In 1970s and 1971, documents were found. This is all true. And it exposed something that people still don't talk about: agendas for Black America and basically a war against Black America. And you've seen it explode and be perfected in the 90s. The things that we found in the 70s being perfected in the 90s. What are those things? The OJ trial. Why was that the trial of the century? You have plenty of perpetrators, white, male, people who did what OJ was alleged to do, and more and worse. You have Robert Wagner. That should have been a trial of the century, never was. Phil Spector, Robert Blake. I can go on for days and days. I'm not here to do that in that video. But there are a lot more damning cases, interesting cases, what happened there cases involving white men. But you're never going to see that OJ became the trial of the century. And America has an agenda because it's satanic. That people know America, I love my country, but the governance of America has been satanic. It's been a satanic, demonic, racist corporate entity for a very long time. And it has agendas that it follows. And one of the agendas is to keep Black criminality in the forefront of America's consciousness. And they've been doing it. They perfected it. OJ, Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, Shannon Sharp, Jonathan Majors. It's blatant. It's in your face. You're only an idiot if you don't see it or admit it. It's pretty perfected and obvious at this point. There's always a black male boogeyman: Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson. There's always a trial. With Diddy, he did a lot of things, but people don't ask obvious questions. Like, why is Cassie testifying? Because they know people are not awake enough to ask critical, like, intelligent questions, because most people are not there. They're just emotional and just sitting there with the popcorn watching Team Z. But most people have not made the connection. Wait, I thought that Cassie settled out. So why is she on the trial now? Like, you know, the math equations in the brain. Why is she testify? Well, the reason is because they do whatever they want. When they have someone who's targeted and lynched, he's up next. And even if he gets out of this, I don't see how, even if he gets out of this, he's already ruined. And this is what they do. And they do it, it's not just black targets. They're doing it as their whipping post. They're doing it right now to Russell Brand because he said things that they didn't like. And they use it as their whipping post because they know people don't understand the law because they're emotional and they get you to hate the baddie that they throw in your face. That's why we're talking about baby oil. That's why we're talking about how bad he beat Cassie. That's why we're talking about things that are not related to why they charged him, because they want to destroy him so that when they finally throw him in jail, no one's going to contest and no one's going to really understand the law because nobody does. And when they do something very unconstitutional, like what they did to R. Kelly, um, nobody's gonna care because it's Diddy, it's R. Kelly. Once you've been propagandized so badly against someone, it doesn't matter what they do to that person. When it's not really about that person, it's about us. It's about our rights. When you settle with someone, they shouldn't be able to come back around and testify against you. The reason why she can is because they have loopholes and tricks. She settled civilly with him. This is now a criminal case. So she gets invited to come on back. They did that to Bill Cosby. They have a lot of demonic tricks because they're demonic. And they get you to think that this guy is the worst evil when you're not looking at the real picture of what's really going on. Am I a Diddy fan? No. But I know that the law needs to work a certain way for all of our protections. And there's going to be someone who is innocent eventually again, and they're going to do the same thing that they're doing to Diddy if that person is a threat to the matrix or the status quo. Diddy, was he a threat to the matrix? He did some things like he got uppity, went against Diageo. He is a threat to the matrix in certain ways that have nothing to do with altruism or activism. He's a threat to the matrix in certain ways, but he's mainly being used as distraction, and it's programming. You're being programmed, and they're keeping your eyes away from things that you really want to be discussing right now. And that's the purpose. And it's always going to be a black guy. This is the program. This is the satanic system that we live in. And they made sure before they dragged him in that every moron in your timeline is posting Diddy with baby oil. The memes just come out of nowhere, and people don't ask themselves, who made these memes? Where did they come from? Why are we all talking about this? Why are we all talking about the gorilla and fighting 100 men? Everybody is so easily manipulated by the distractions. And hey, today we're wearing blue. Today we're wearing green. There's a movie, I think, Wally, where they show you that's what you're living in. You're being controlled. Your mind is not your own. All is mind. It's a hermetic principle, but that's why they're controlling your mind. So people are controlled every second of the day. That's why I discuss these things. A lot of spiritual people in spiritual communities, they choose not to talk about celebrity gossip and things like that because I feel that they feel that that's, wise. That's, to keep yourself spiritually, focused on what's important and not distracted. That's only partially true. The point of you being here is to have this experience and see all of this. And a lot of the things that, I try to do and what spiritual minded people need to do is to see what they're doing in the programs that they're trying to ensnare people in and tell people about it to help raise the collective vibration and help people not to fall into the traps. Yes, this Diddy situation is all about your distraction. It's programming. It's social engineering. They're up to something. They're using it to fan the flames on the black actual deviant while the more prolific ones run free. And yes, Diddy is a deviant, not excusing him of anything, but absolutely they are pushing him out front while simultaneously shielding others. You're never going to talk about them. You're never going to see them. Um, Never going to be brought to a trial of a century. Clive Davis allegedly Diddy, but you're never going to talk about Clive Davis because they won't allow it. That's not going to happen. So Diddy's the bad guy. So no, I'm not here to say Diddy's a good person, but a lot of people need to be careful about what they fall into and understand the difference between who's a perverted guy, a bully, a casting couch person like Harvey Weinstein, and but what's criminal. I have an unpopular opinion that I don't feel that Harvey Weinstein should have been in prison either. But I didn't say that publicly. I actually went to the trial. Most people that are going to argue with me didn't go to the trial and didn't do anything, but they watched TV, so they know. Right? They would argue with me, but the reason why I didn't feel that, the same thing with Diddy. A lot of these people are not victims, and try selling that to an emotional crowd of people who've never really thought in their lives because their minds are controlled. It's a hard sell, but I'm gonna do it regardless. They play with the system. They settled civilly. So criminally, they just wait. They can get you back in to spill the beans about anything criminally. They settled civilly with these people. And so they call Cassie back in and they're talking about everything that has nothing to do with why they're charging him, which is racketeering. Um, they're talking about the freak offs. To be honest with you, he can have a freak off for whomever he wants. We might not like it, might be nasty, but if assuming they're all adults, it's not a criminal thing. So back to the facts of Diddy's case. Almost everything that the media is talking about has nothing to do with the charges against Diddy. What they're playing to is the court of public opinion and the entertainment and the sensationalism. But they're really not showing you how they're getting him for the charges that he's been charged with. And what are the charges? Well, they really need to be proving trafficking and the racketeering, which they are not really doing at all. Um, the trafficking, it's kinda they made it up. They did it to R. Kelly and they did it successfully, but it blows my mind how they're still the demonic psychopaths are still using the same tricks that are 100 years old, the same racist tricks, the same thing that they got Jack Johnson on, the first black heavyweight boxer, they're doing to Diddy now, and R. Kelly and all these people trafficking. With Jack Johnson, it was the Mann Act, but it's a variation of the same thing. The other thing, and they don't really have a case against Diddy for that. They just made it up and they're trying to figure it out as they go along. But what they do have something that can prove the racketeering, where you need to prove that Diddy, not the man, but the mogul and corporate entity engaged in coercion, bribery, and or extortion to some degree, which he kind of did, to people under his employ. You have to prove that. And is there instances of that? Yes, there are, but it's still weak and, not very strong and pretty much, involving mainly just Cassie and they don't have a strong case. And so like the media is just fanning the flame on fluff and nonsense and things that have nothing to do with anything, baby oil. So they're just destroying him in the court of public opinion, which is one of the goals, and to distract you. It doesn't begin and end with Diddy. Diddy's small potatoes when it comes to what's really going on in the industry, the satanic rituals, the putting black men in dresses, the the system is there before Diddy, will be there after Diddy, and Diddy is just a fall guy, targeted entity. Not saying he's a good guy, but they're dragging him in now because they want you to focus on him and not a million other things that are there hiding before you in plain sight. But I'll go into that another time. I just wanted to come back and I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about all of these different things in future videos to come. But I just want to come back and say, hey, and I'm not excusing his behavior or any person who's been accused of horrible things. I think he's done very horrible things. But there's another side of this that is not being articulated. Like one of the things they said on TMZ, that he had a male escort urinate in Cassie's, like, for the emotional masses that don't think, it's like, oh my God, it's clutching your pearls. But to a critical thinker, what is Diddy, like an X-Men villain with mind control powers? He made two adults do things. So, come on, like when we're ready to talk like adults who understand things how it really went down. I'm gonna be posting on the big channel soon. Yeah, he made one adult escort do something. Everybody consented because he's like Professor X. He made all these people do it, or he did it, or you want to say, how did he make all these people do these things? Consent. They consented in one way, shape, or form and didn't do anything. That's why they couldn't win the way they would if they wanted to pursue this as a criminal, like individual versus him, wouldn't succeed because there's no case there. They're doing it like this. And they knew this stuff was going on. A lot of people knew this stuff was going on and nobody did anything. So, you know, they know that Diddy situations, whether it involves him or not, exist. Parties, these weird parties, whether it has to do with Diddy or not, exist. It's all there. People know what goes on, but this is a spectacle. And I'm going to talk about the real ramifications of what they're really trying to do and what they're trying to program you with this stuff. Is Diddy a good guy? No, I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to tell you that you should always worry about what's more important. The law of the land, not having it bastardized the way they do. Even Diddy needs has constitution. That doesn't need, has rights. And if you're going to be dragged and accused of stuff, you don't have it leaked all over the internet and people making documentaries about you. All that is not, should not be, it's libelous. It should not be taking place. And it's not about Diddy. And only people who are not emotional can have that correct mindset. But when you're emotionally compromised and clutching your pearls and eating the popcorn and watching and sipping the tea, you're gone. You're gone. But yes, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different situations and events, and I'm not trying to excuse predators or abusive entities like Diddy, but I'm going to talk to you about the real lions, tigers, and bears out there. Okay, so that's it for now. Just letting you guys know I'll be talking about many topics, more important topics in the future. Consider hitting up the Patreon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.